Hello, everybody. How are you? I am here. As you can tell, my voice is not quite here, but we're going to give it a go today anyway. I'm not sure if this is going to be a short read today or if it's going to be a full length, but we'll see how much my voice can handle. It's a little bit weird, I can tell you. When you're so used to using a voice all the time to be able to barely talk, today is really good. Yesterday, not so good. The day before that, which was when I couldn't read for you last, so that was on Wednesday, I could barely whisper. That's just how it was. Hi, Aunt, how are you? Good to have you back. And congratulations on the, I don't know if it's being mentioned anywhere else. Great to see you. Great to have you here. And you too, Blue. Great to have you here too. Wonderful. So in the meantime, I have actually still been busy doing work to do with my stream. So I've been trying to make my commands and my timers a little bit more concise, because some of them are really, really wordy and they take so much room up in the chat box, things like that. I hope you can hear me okay. The graphic that's below the video image is showing plenty of oomph. So apparently I'm loud enough, just I can't make it any more clear. Sorry about that. But yes, great to be here and great that Aunt is here. I hope you had a good break. It sounded like it was, because I think you said something about going to the coast or something like that. I hope so anyway. Sorry. Something just caught my eye out the window. It's one of the downsides of having ADHD is the slightest little thing can be a major distraction. And I'm hoping that the stripes on this aren't going to be too much of a distraction either, because I know that sometimes it used to show a little bit odd with the pixels of the screen. Anyway, we'll see how we go. I'm trying to think if there was anything else. The pixels of the screen. That looks like that's gone back to using the old captions, which is not meant to be happening. It's meant to be using, I'm just going to check my tools. Yep, that's the one I'm meant to be using. I'm just checking the languages for it because at one stage it was using the experimental ones that let's see if they've got a New Zealand one. Australia, Canada, Ghana, United Kingdom, India, Ireland, Kenya, New Zealand. There. Maybe it'll recognise my voice, my accent a bit better. There was, at one stage, OBS, because I had upgraded to the newer version of it, was using the experimental captions and they were terrible. It did not recognise most of what I was saying, and it had great big walls of text, which it wasn't meant to do either. As it is, it's still showing more on the screen than I was expecting it to, but we'll see how that works. If it looks like it's too far wrong, I'll try using the UK captions. Let me know if you think that might make a change. So Aunt says it was so good. I was on the ocean and came back changed. Yeah, and you had a great opportunity to start the next thing when you came back too, which is fabulous. I love it when you get the chance to take a decent break and just chill with it. I don't mean chill as in go somewhere cold, unless you're too hot where you are, in which case that's very pleasant. But just relaxing. Just kicking back and not having to worry about the normal day-to-day stuff. So hopefully that's what you got to do. And for those of you who haven't been on break, I hope you get a little mini break somehow. Sometimes I think, it would be really, really cool to be able to go away and have a holiday, which I can't do at the moment just because of the way life is. I'm hoping sometime in the next month or so to go down to Wellington, which is further south than where I am. It's sort of at the bottom of the North Island. That's where our daughter lives. Go down and see her for a few days. We'll fly down and catch the train back or something like that. And we'll just see how it goes. Sorry, I'm frowning at the captions that are showing up on the other screen. Not quite what I was expecting them to be. I really don't understand why it's quite so. Maybe the ones I'm seeing on the other screen are not the ones I'm getting in my working window down here. I don't know. It's too confusing. Turn your captions off if you don't want them, okay? There should be, if you're on a computer, there should be if you put your mouse over the video window, it should give you an option to be able to change the caption settings for you, what they look like, or even turn them off. And I think if you're on a mobile, that's there's a video player settings button near the bottom of that screen, and I think captions are part of that. So we'll just see what happens. It's just a little distracting. Yeah, the wonders of ADHD. Anyway, I'm distracting myself with this voice. It's so strange. Hi, Squibble, great to have you here. Go for it with the lurking, and I hope that the work is going well. So, yeah, I really do. I'm guessing that it's a continuation of whatever it was that you were doing this morning, which I didn't manage to catch anything of. So I'm going to, rather than spend ages and ages talking, because I don't think my voice is going to cope with it, I'm going to get into the story fairly soon. That's wonderful. Oh, that's nice to know. So I'm guessing from what Squibble says, she says, yes, thanks, she'll be able to join properly in an hour. That I'm guessing that in about an hour you're going to be streaming. So if that's the case, wonderful. We'll see how we go. Sorry, there's something here I need to turn off because it's distracting me. Right, I think that's it. We've got some new options, you see, that they've created. So Twitch has put in, I'm talking about this because I had to explain this to somebody else one time. I get a lot of people who are streamers who watch my streams, which I think is absolutely ridiculous because I'm not quite what most people who are streamers go and watch. Most people who are streamers go and watch big, loud, noisy racing and fighting games and stuff like that. Now, I know that you guys don't all do that. If you do that, that's fine. But it just amuses me. The image of streamers is gamers, and I don't fit that. But I do have people who like all that sort of stuff, who like watching my streams, so that's cool. Happy to be hanging out. Loud and noisy. Yeah, I know. Anyway, so what I was going to say is, for those of you who are streamers, and if you are streaming on Twitch, not just listening on Twitch, yeah, hype, absolutely. There's a new feature called Highlight, I think it is. Yes, chat highlight settings. And it's accessible in whichever, as long as you're not doing it on mobile, obviously, because I don't know how it works on mobile. But if you're using OBS, if you are looking at your channel moderator view, and also if you are looking at your streamer view, stream manager view, yes, all of those have it. I've just checked because I have all of those open, although I can usually only see one of those other two. There's a little wee icon down the bottom near the settings button where it says chat, which is a highlighter pen. And if you click on that, you can get the chat to show you as the streamer if someone is a first-time chatter, which we kind of had before, but they've extended it. There's two versions of it. So there's a standard view of it, and then there's also a minimised view. So it has a little wee bar at the beginning of what they're saying, rather than having a bar across the top of what they're saying. And then it's got a coloured outline for the whole box for what they're saying and that bar. And so you can have it for suspicious users, first-time chatters, mentions, for moderators, for VIPs, and for subscribers. There you go, I needed another one. And each of those has a different colour outline, and you can turn them on or off individually, and you can, if you have them turned on, you can choose if it's the default version, which is with the little shaded bar across the top, or if it's minimised, which has the little loop bit of text in front of it that shows whether it's a first time chat or something like that. And I had it just a little bit too much information that it was providing me, because I know who my VIPs are and stuff like that. So I didn't need to have all that. I was trying it, okay? I was testing it. Okay, there was a reason, but it was just getting a little bit too distracting for this ADHD brain. So anyway, enough of that, and I've got it back. So it doesn't get rid of the bits that were already there when you turn some of those off. So I had it showing me that squiggle is a VIP, and so you've got the magenta outline, and then you've got the little wee bubble bit before it that says VIP, as well as the icon that's normally in chat. And it's just so that when you're streaming, because your eye is usually on the game, because most of them are gamers, it helps you to catch information when you need it. And so nice to know that the stuff that was active at the time stays in chat as it was formatted at the time. But if you then turn that off, the ones that follow afterwards are in the standard format. So Squibbles now has two messages that have the magenta outline in the bubble, and then the ones after that don't have the outline in the bubble because I turned that off because I know that she's a VIP. I mean, yes, I know she's got the icon for it anyway, but I was testing it, okay? Just accept it. Anyway, so we are going to not talk so much before I read, I promise. Oh my goodness, that is looking terrible with that big wall of text. It's meant to be only 3 lines high. I don't know why it does that. It's not meant to be the experimental captions. And I don't know how to turn off experimental captions on my display. Oh, yes I do. You know, the bit I was telling you about, how to do your captions button, like on mobile? That's where it is when you're in mod view, instead of the floaty caption button, which is purple with 2 CCs. Let's see. No, I'm not going to worry about that. And then if I turn it back on again, I don't know which version it's going to show me. Especially because there's always a delay between what I see, because I see it like a mirror, except I see it the way you see it, not as a mirror image. And what you see, which has got a little bit of stream delay in there. Anyway, so hence me suddenly going quiet and watching. Anyway, I'm getting too warm. I'm going to have to pull my sleeves up. I don't really want to have to take the thermal off, but I might have to. I'm trying to look after my health. I am, honestly. Right, so if you're new here, hi, I'm Jev. I read old children's books. Ones like this. Let me just reach behind the magic curtain. I keep reaching too far. Ones like this. This was written over 100 years ago. I've got another one back there that was written 125 years ago. I'll just prove it. See? 125 years ago. And no, it's not a magic book. That's just my green screen, which is what my magic curtain is. Anyway, so that's the sort of books I grew up reading because they were the books we had at home, apart from ones that were given to us as presents, which was always a delight, unless it was one of those educational books, you know, Seashells of the New Zealand Shore. Thank you very much, grandmother. It was great. It was a good reference, but it wasn't a gripping read. And I'm pretty sure I still actually have that book somewhere in the boxes downstairs in the larder, which are the books that are going to go on my shelves in my reading space when I get that space behind me sorted. You'll be able to get to see all of these wonderful books. It was lovely. I went down there one day. Yes, I know I'm still talking to the new people, but they can learn from this too. I went down there one day reasonably recently and opened up the top of a couple of boxes to see what books were in there, because I don't know. We used to have more books than that, and then the whole lot got wet and damp somewhere and they just got taken away. Those are the ones I've got still. That's cool. Whatever. I pulled out a couple of books from the top of the boxes, from 2 different boxes. Thank you, Q. I do hope I feel better soon too. And I might as well turn the jigsaw on, except I need to put that in there. Sorry, I just realised. Opened up 2 of the boxes and... Sorry, my keyboard's not in the same place that it was. It's the same place it was. Oh, what the hang was that I copied? I have no idea. I just need to pull this up. But open up these two boxes and just looked in the very top. I didn't go any further than that, okay? Because there are a lot of boxes. Yeah, there are. And pulled out, in the 4 books that I pulled out first, between the 2 boxes, 2 of them are books I have already read on this channel and which are on my playlist over on my YouTube, one of my playlists over on my YouTube channel. So there you go. It will be worth me opening the boxes and putting the books on the shelves when I get the shelves. We're going to go with 120 pieces. No arguments. And next time I'm sorting out jigsaw puzzles, if you want a specific number, let me know. Unless, of course, I think it looks super busy, in which case I may actually just cut the number down slightly. There you go. That is, no, it's not available yet. I just have to paste this into my commands. I knew there was something else. Just have to find it. So I usually have it open, ready to go. I've got the command window open. I just didn't have the actual command open because it's a page with a whole lot of lists of lines, and then when you click on the line that you want, it expands it so you can edit it. There you go. The jigsaw's ready if anyone wants to use it. Right. So back to saying hi to the new people. Hi, new people. It's bedlam here at times, and I mean that in the generic form of the word, not in the old-fashioned meaning of the word. Sorry, and not meaning to be rude about anyone who has mental health issues. Me being one of them, okay? I'm ADHD. I'm also on the autism spectrum, and there's probably a bunch of other stuff, none of which has ever been diagnosed because I'm in my late 50s. If they give me a diagnosis now, what help is it going to be? They are not going to give me funding or an assistant for getting through school. They're not going to give me someone who can help me at home with the different tasks I need to do because apparently I've succeeded so far. Why would I suddenly need it now? So I have looked into the possibility of getting diagnoses for various things. They have to be done through specialists in New Zealand and you need a referral. The waiting lists are very long, and then on top of that you have to pay for them because I'm an adult. Just in case you hadn't figured that one out. Not being an adult means you have to be under 18, I think, if it's to do with health. Otherwise, it's under 16 for a lot of things. They get free assessments and stuff, but they also have a big waiting list, which can be really frustrating when it's for a child because you change so much in that same amount of time. Like if it's a year that you're waiting, a child can change so much in how they handle things. Whereas an adult, you don't tend to change quite as much. It slows down as you grow up. Anyway, so yeah, it's a bit frustrating, but that's what it is. And like I say, I've made it this far. I'm already older than what the usual discussion overseas that talks about what their life expectancy is for people on the autism spectrum. I'm older than that. So this is all big win. All big one. I think part of what has got me through it is, thank you, Jonathan. Hi, great to have you here. I am going to try and take sorry, I'm going to step out of camera for a moment, please. I need to take this thermal off. I'm just getting way too hot suddenly, and then I will continue the story. Okay, wait, I'll be back. Just letting you know I'm still here. I'm coming back. There you go, that's a bit better. Oh, huge difference. Sorry about that. Thank you. I hope I am feeling a lot better than I was, which is why I'm able to stream today. Wednesday I was feeling reasonably okay. Not quite as good as today, but Wednesday I was whispering. I could not get this volume at all. And it was kind of, the phlegm in my throat was choking me a bit. kind of. But I am feeling a lot better. A lot better. And no, it's not COVID. It's just a cold. Thank you. That's wonderful, Squibble. I appreciate that. On Squibble's Discord server, if you type in coffee with as a command, there's a bot that will hand you a coffee, the whole pot. If you put the whole pot, it will hand you that sort of thing as well. And it's also, there's also one for tea, and I love it. I really need to get a few things like that are just part of this. Actually, I should write that down, shouldn't I, on my ideas list. So this is the bonus tip. We haven't even got to the tips yet, but here's your bonus, your bonus tip. No, it's not tip one. Your bonus tip: pencil. I'll grab some other paper. Sorry, that paper is the same colour as my green screen. I forgot. Pencil and paper. I usually wave around something that's more like this size. There you go. It's an easier way to demonstrate it for you. But I was reaching for my piece of paper that I'm writing streaming notes on, which is why I ended up with this. I like streaming. It's hilarious. Anyway, I just need to write that down. Coffee, tea points. Right, I'm trying to think of some things I can do as stream elements, channel point. No, not channel points. Channel points are the ones that are at the bottom of your Twitch chat window, and that's for being for however long you've been on when it's live streaming. Stream elements ones accrue in a similar manner but at a different ratio, and the streamer has a lot more control over them if they use them. A lot of people don't, because a lot of people actually don't even realise they're there. That sounds like a good idea too. I need to write this down, although it would be really cool if you guys wrote these ideas down over on the Discord server. Can someone type in the Discord link, just not the link, the command, and see if it works for you? I'm not sure. Redeem, poem, read. Right, I've written that one down just in case I don't actually see it over there, but if it's over in the Discord server, I'm more likely to actually do something about it. So what I've been doing, this is what's been happening while I haven't been online, is I have been twiddling around with the channel points, which are the ones which are at the bottom of the chat, and they are handled by Twitch. So my channel points are called books. No, they're called pages, but there's a picture of a book, which I coloured up and put there. I found an icon site that had free icons that I was allowed to use, and so I've put that, and I coloured it up. So, and there are redemptions you can use on that. So I've made three, kind of, three ones that I didn't have before. There are standard ones, okay? So the standard ones that are available are unlock a random sub, highlight my message, choose an emote to unlock. So that's for if someone's got lots and lots of sub emotes and you're not at the level where you can get those, you can unlock one of those using your channel points, and then modify a single emote. And I think all that does is like turn it round or something like that. So the ones I've added are hydrate, bend and stretch. I obviously made the words up for these ones. Usually they're things like hydrate, stretch. So I did bend and stretch. Anyone remember that old song? Bend and stretch, reach for the stars. There goes Jupiter, here comes Mars. And no, I'm definitely not in tune. And I think that was from Play School or Romper Room or one of those kids' programs. I can't remember. Anyway, so that's why it says bend and stretch. I get earworms really easily. And I've actually gone through and I've found some more of these icons like the one I did for the book. But because the style that they use for their standard ones is a white outline, I've gone and found ones to just done with lines, a solid black outline, inverted that, so I've now got a white outline because they're transparent, you see, and then put them online, and oh, my beeper for my cooking is going. put them online and then change the colour. I'm going to let that beep for a little bit longer. No, you can't hear it apparently, according to my microphone. So and then the last one is what's all this about? What's all this about? Which is basically, I'm not going to tell you what it is. You guys can find out what it is. Anyway, so that's what I've been doing. I'm going to have to get somebody to go down and do that, because that's the timer to put the vegetables into the oven for dinner tonight. But it's a little bit early because I set it early. So I've got another half an hour before it has to go in. They're all peeled. Somebody in the family peeled them for me, and they're sitting in cold, salty water so that the potatoes don't go brown or pink. Potatoes go pink, like apples go brown. Anyway. So, yeah, that's what I've been doing. So that's the first part of it. The second part, which I haven't done anything with, but I've been exploring, is that there is and I also want to put some other ones too in the channel points over that way. I also want to do ones that are, that would be so funny, Jonathan. I wish UK cops were legally required to say, "You're next, sunshine," when they arrest people. Yeah, that would be so funny. Anyway, so the other one is that most people don't know about, who are streamers. Stream Elements also have a point system, and it's called loyalty points. And I was getting really confused when someone was telling me about it. And the place you redeem them from is the Stream Elements store. And I will end up having a command for that so you can get to that, which I haven't yet. And so one of my other online friends, and I'm sure Squibble has lots of this sort of thing in place, just because Squibble is brilliant at all these different things you can bring into it. Like doing she does an animation that comes in when she's going off away from keyboard for a while. She's on the Be Right Back screen. It animates into it, and then she can get it to run an ad, and then it will still be showing whatever the finished scene is from that animation for the Be Right Back, which is brilliant. It really is. It's wonderful, and I just need to learn more things like that. We'll get there. Still so many things are broken. Yeah, I know. It's a work in progress, okay? Now, that's the other thing for you streamers. Unless you're using Chrome or Edge and maybe Firefox, technically your browser breaks Twitch. It doesn't actually for most of them. They actually just need to be updated. I use Opera GX, and it was telling me that it couldn't save the edits I'd done for the title on something. And yes, I am going to... Hi, how are you? Good to see you, Jay. Words. Try putting an exclamation mark in front of jigsaw or puzzle. That's it. I am going to carry on with the hi to new people thing in a minute. It is part of what's going on. So I use Opera GX as my browser, and I was going to do some edits for the title of one of the VODs, the video on demand, the saved videos, and it wouldn't save the changes I'd made. And I'm like, this is strange. There's something going on there. And then I remember that my son had said that he uses Opera GX, and he had actually forced an update, which means that instead of it just randomly telling him that it had an update available, he actually got it to specifically check if there was an update. And yes, Opera have already rolled out an update for their gamer browser, which is what I use, Opera GX. I prefer to use it because it's a lot more customizable. You can set it to work in dark mode for its frame, even if the actual web pages you visit are not in dark mode. But you can also force a dark mode, which isn't very pretty, but it works if you want to do that. There's a whole lot of reasons why I use Opera. I've talked about it before. One time when I was doing a big long random ramble about browsers and stuff like that, and streaming in the old days. Anyway, so Opera GX at least has definitely updated, so it now meets the requirements. And if you have been worried because Twitch tweeted that these particular browsers are supported, what they meant was not that you couldn't use other browsers, but that they have in place the ways to talk somebody through in their technical support if they are having issues in any of those three browsers, actually there's also Safari, it's just they didn't mention it. They've mentioned it afterwards in a follow-up tweet because so many people were freaking out about it. But what they have said is, if at the moment you can't do it with your one because you're using a different one, talk to your browser provider. And that's where you got things like Opera have already sorted that out. Ghostly Canine ready for trick or treat, and well done. I just thought, since we're a month away exactly today from having Halloween, which isn't a big thing for me, then I might as well do something. And also, when we get to the title of today's chapter, you'll see why I chose that. Not the specifics of the picture, but generally what it represents. And I shall get you another one. Good on you, Jonathan. Go for it. So, so don't panic. It probably isn't broken. It's probably just that it needs an update, because most of the big name browsers are actually doing updates. Yes, I am unwell at the moment, kind of. I have a bad cold, and it's still made my thinking a little bit gluggy, and my voice is terrible. But at least you can hear it today. On Wednesday, I didn't stream because I was talking like this if I was lucky, and occasionally like this. So, yeah, that's terrible. I hope it comes right for you very quickly. Thankfully for me, it's just a cold. I'm not quite sure about your situation. Lots of lemon and ginger in hot water. So lemon ginger tea sweetened with honey is really good for soothing it. Gargling with warm, salty water helps to flush out all the bugs and some of the excess phlegm. It's not old wives' tales. It really does work. And if you're in New Zealand and you have access to getting Clinician's Viractive supplement, take that, and take it at least twice a day. It says once a day, but you can take it twice a day quite safely. And that will also help. It just shortens the length of time that you're actually feeling crook for. I felt really crook for a day. Like, really crook for me means that I can actually sleep during the day. And when I went to bed at night, even though I'd been sleeping during the day, I was getting to sleep at 9:30 at night. And anyone who knows me knows that that is absolutely, wow, unusual, completely off-the-shelf stuff, because normally I'm not asleep until 11, 12, 1, because I have insomnia. I can go to bed, snooze for 10 minutes, and then I'll be awake, and I can't get to sleep again for another 2 hours. So look after your throat. Lots and lots of water too. Without any extras in it, the extra hydration helps to flush the phlegm and the bugs out of your system. So yeah, please do look after yourself. I'm just looking to see if there was anything else. No, I didn't. I was looking for another theme for a jigsaw puzzle. Yes, I know, I'm pulling horrible faces. Sorry about that. I'm trying to give you another puzzle. I'll give you the one that I already had set up for the other week. Other week. Hang on. I just got to move things around here first so that I can get to this. I'm pretty sure this is not one of the ones that we did before, but it's along the lines of when the children went up to the the moors up in Wales in the story, and their dad was counting the sheep and looking after them and stuff like that. I'm just looking at how busy that is. I can make that a little bit more. No, I'm not going to make that more. That's 112, and the reason I'm leaving it that is because there are a lot of pieces that are very, very similar looking in terms of colouring, okay? And then I'll give you the link for it in a minute. I just need to update it. Anyway, so if you're new here, hi, we got that far, and I talked about the fact that I read old children's books, and I read old children's books because those are the books that were available very easily for me to access when I was growing up. And a lot of the books that I was reading that were those sort of ones were ones that had belonged to, I didn't get this bit done, I know that had belonged to my parents and my grandparents as brand new books when they were growing up. And so I was reading these really, really, really old books and enjoyed them, thoroughly enjoyed them, because over time people change their writing style. The type of stories that get told for children are very different now to what they used to be. And yes, you can do the puzzle now. All that sort of stuff. Also, Jay, use a throat spray if you can to help it. It helps to just soothe it. I've got one which, when you first use it, feels absolutely horrendous. It's like at the back of your throat. It's by Kiwi Herb. Kiwi Herb throat spray. So another one for the Kiwis, the New Zealanders. But it's all natural plant extracts and stuff like that in it. And initially it's like, oh, and I'm coughing and spluttering because it tastes horrible. Thankfully I can still taste it. But then it just calms the nerves down at the back of my throat when they were sore. And also watch out if it's the same sort of cold as what I've got. At night when you wake up in the morning, sometimes your throat can feel uncomfortable, even though it's been doing well, because your breath is drying out the surface of it, and you're probably having to breathe through your mouth at the moment. So it will be quite uncomfortable. Hydrate, heaps and heaps of water, which leads me to my new people, to my 3 tips. My 3 tips, Jonathan will be proud of me, I remembered. Tip 1, water. Drinks. No, not water. Water is one of them. Tip 1, drinks. Tip 2, snacks. And tip 3, I will get to in a moment. Drinks. I always have water handy because it's great for your voice, but it's also brilliant to keep your brain working well so you can think clearly. I've been thinking a lot better than I could have been for the stage I've been at for the cold. It also helps your body to function. Make sure you have water handy, but don't limit yourself to just water unless that's the only thing that you like. So I've also got coffee. I've given myself a treat today. I've given myself one of my machine coffees instead of the ones off the stovetop, just because I'm feeling that much better. I really want one of my favourite coffees, which is a double shot espresso topped off with steamed milk. It's not quite as warm as it was now, but it's still yummy. We've just got a coffee machine at home that was from Flybuys points, loyalty points, not Stream Elements ones, normal shopping ones. But it's meant that there's a whole bunch of different things that I've got over the years because I've been able to get points in one way or another. I need to just make sure that that's not talking to me. It hasn't been up till now as far as I know, but I just suddenly thought, I need to mute that tab. Right, so tip 1 is drinks. Tip 2 is snacks. And snacks, I'm not sure what snacks. What snacks have you got today? I'm always telling you what I've got. And there's my coffee QR code. It's nice and clear today. Wonderful. You can give me a tip on coffee if you want. The price of a coffee. I have ginger nuts. I still haven't eaten those last, I should unbundle them. I still haven't eaten those last 2 ginger nuts. I'll leave those out and I might snack on those. Ginger nuts are very hard, not super thin, but not as thick as an American cookie. And they're a lot harder. They're not chewy like American cookies tends to be. And they're hard. And they're really, really nice if you dunk them in hot tea or hot chocolate and then eat them. But you've got to pull them out before they fall apart, okay? Otherwise, you've got this soggy mess in the bottom of your cup. It's not very nice if you do that. Anyway, right, so that's drinks and snacks. And tip 3 is whatever your most favourite comfortable seat is. That's why I didn't say it before because I haven't come up with a one-word description for it yet. I have been saying comfort, but that doesn't sound quite right, and comfortable doesn't sound right either because that's an adjective, not a noun. So get comfortable because when you're listening to a story, you don't want anything to interrupt. You just want to listen to the story. You want to be able to just lay back and enjoy it. You can be on the floor with a cushion if you want. You can be on the floor with a cushion if you want. No, I won't be doing that. That's my favourite cushion. Excuse me. That's what my throat's like at the moment. Thankfully, most of the time when that happens, I'm getting more voice back afterwards, and it's chucking out some of the gunk that's been building up in my throat. Anyway, so those are my 3 tips, and I've already given you the bonus tip, which was pencil and paper. Write notes of things that you want to find out about, places that you think, where on earth is that? She didn't show us on the map. Either you can ask me and I can put it up on the map, or you can look it up for yourself. But if you want to concentrate on the story, just write it down so you can look it up later. I go along, get stuck in all these rabbit holes. I was going to talk for 15 minutes. That is not happening, is it? It's a bit late now. So if I'm reading to you and I decide that I need to know about something, sometimes I'll look up a word and put it in a little pop-up that comes up here in stream. And that is one of the few things that the YouTube viewers get to see. Hi, YouTube viewers. Great to have you here. I know you're not watching this while I'm actually doing it. You're watching this as a recording, but I really do appreciate you having a listen to the stories. And don't forget, you can check out the playlists. And for those of you who aren't aware of the playlists, I have playlists on YouTube, and I put each of the books into a playlist of its own so that you can listen to a whole book. You can just come back to it and listen to the next part of that story. Anyway, so I do appreciate my YouTube viewers. I know there's a whole bunch of people who are in different parts of the world who can't be here when I'm reading live, and that's okay. But if you can make it to join us on Twitch, I'm just putting this up for the YouTube viewers, okay? Don't panic. This is my Twitch link, and I'm putting it up on the screen here because the YouTube viewers cannot see chat, so therefore they can't click on a link in chat. Sorry about that. So if you type in twitch.tv/jevvv with 3 V's, jevvv, no punctuation in that part of it, you will get to my Twitch channel. If you follow me on Twitch, that means you click the heart button, the hollow heart button, and it fills in. Then Twitch will let you know when I'm live. And there's actually a notification system for it too, which you can turn on, which is like clicking the bell on YouTube. So that's for those of you who are over on YouTube and want to follow me on Twitch. Those of you who are on Twitch, so you don't feel left out, here you go. Here is my YouTube channel, so you can look up my playlists, so you can listen to the stories if you miss them out. Right, so let's get that out of the way, and we'll get on with reading the story. We will actually get somewhere today, I think. I hope. Right. Oh, yeah, I was going to tell you that this is especially for the new people. I have ADHD, and I'm also on the autism spectrum, which means, first of all, I get distracted really, really easily. It's usually relevant distractions. It's usually to do with a plant or a place or an old word or something like that. And I'll find out, and because I'm intrigued by it, I will find pictures and I'll put them onto stream so that people can see them. And I try to put them all in the video window so the people who are on YouTube can see them too. And if I'm talking too fast and you're watching this either as a VOD on Twitch or as a video on YouTube, you can slow it down to 75%, like 0.75 instead of full speed if I talk too fast for you. I have to watch YouTube videos at 1.5 times speed because they're just so slow, because people will talk to you like this in their YouTube videos, and I keep thinking, oh my goodness, are you going to make a point sometime so that I can go and do the other things that I need to do, because this is going to take forever to get to the end of the video, please. Anyway, so I talk fast, relatively speaking. But it does mean that the ADHD is the distractions. The autism means that I really want to find out more about it. I want to fill in the details. I want to complete the set of information, all those sort of possibilities. It's a lot more wide-ranging than people understand the way an autistic brain works. It's actually a variation on thinking. You think just like other people do, but you have all these other aspects of the way you think. Your senses might be turned up a lot louder than everybody else's. So like everybody else's are of a max of 10, Mine had turned up to 11 all the time. So it means that if I start itching now, I can always find at least 3 other parts of my skin that are still itchy at the same time. And I have to actually deliberately just not think about it. That's the way it works. It's because the nerves in my skin are feeling every little thing that's brushing it, which is why you'll see me itch my ear and stuff. Sometimes it's just too much. Or you may have somebody else who's also on the spectrum who have not had the same degree of connection between what they're feeling and their awareness of what they're feeling. And so it's like their sensations are turned down really low, almost muted. So I've got a family member who can have hurt themselves and not realise they've hurt themselves. Thankfully, it's not usually on anything really major. They can feel the majors, but the minors, they're not so sure about. At one stage, they didn't actually know that they had a headache because the signals they were getting from the pain weren't associating with what headache means because the processing was different. Anyway, so there's lots of wonderful things that being on the spectrum brings, and that is the ability to see patterns and understand things that other people don't, sometimes almost intuitively, or to dig deeper into information that most other people don't do and be rewarded by that information in some way or another. That is really, yes, for that particular person. And speaking of which, I got sent this the other day. This came in the mail. I don't think I showed it to you last time I was online. This is a Logitech mouse. It's a pin. Logitech G 2022. This is the Golden Easter Egg award. There are a number of us who did it. So Logitech G did a Hunt for the Golden Gear Easter egg challenge at Easter earlier this year. And I did show it last time. That's right. So what happened was at Easter time, Logitech ANZ, that's the New Zealand version of Logitech, the New Zealand offices of Logitech. So they've got them in different countries. So whatever country you're in, look them up and follow them on Twitter. And so they put up a tweet which talked about doing an Easter egg hunt. And I thought, well, this is interesting. So I looked at what they finally put up that seemed to be connected to it. And it was basically a series of different puzzles. One was to do with the way you understood what was written down. It gave you a clue. It was an Easter egg hunt. It was like a treasure hunt. And so I did that and I found that bit. There were a couple of different things which had, if you slowed down, paid attention to a little YouTube video that was, one of them was a YouTube video, one was just an animation somewhere. If you paid attention to it, you saw a single frame of an image that didn't fit in with the whole rest of it. So I managed to get a screen capture of it. And then I put that together with the other one that was from some other source, and they gave me a QR code. So I scanned the QR code and it took me to a link somewhere online, which looked, one of the things that somewhere along the line I was taken to, it looked like a completely blank page. But then if you scrolled down, there was like a full stop down in the bottom corner, or one of those arrows or something like that on this big page that didn't have anything on it. And it turns out that was actually a clickable link, so I clicked on the link. There was another one where there was writing on a page, but it was the same colour as the page background. You know, all this sort of little hinty things. And so I followed all these clues, and there were other people who did it too. I'm not the only one. One of my other online friends actually got, as a prize, got one of their really cool neon pink mice, new mouse that had just come out as a gift, as a prize for it. But when you completed it, it looked like at one stage you'd finished. And then I thought, hang on a minute, That's implying just the way they phrased that. It sounds like there might be a little bit more going on. So I followed that up as well. And sure enough, there was yet another stage that you could do. Now, if you did that last stage and clicked on whatever it was you were meant to click on, then it activated your registering that you had done it. And when you were registering, you could put your personal details in, which I did because some of my gear is Logitech gear, so they already have access to my personal information. So I'm not going to hide my address from them because I have registered my webcam, my microphone, no, not my microphone, my keyboard, my other old webcam, my mouse, as gear that I have so that it's under warranty at the time when I got them. So they already have my physical address. And so so I wasn't worried about giving them that. I don't think they're going to use it the wrong way because it's the same company that's handling it. And then they said at the very, very end, when I got to that very, very last one, and there was absolutely nothing else that was going on, don't worry, I checked, that they said that if you had filled in your street address, your courier suitable address, then you would be receiving a little wee thank you for having taken part in their Easter egg hunt, which is why I got my Logitech mouse pin, which, I mean, it's like this. It's got two little pin thingies on the back, and it's got the date. It's like doing a vintage car rally. That's a national one, and they give you a little thing that you can put on the front of your vintage car or on the dashboard of your vintage car, and it says the year and what the name of it was and that sort of thing. So it's one of those. So it's really cool. So I'm going to put that with my other pins that I've got, and maybe one day I'll remember to wear it. Anyway, so it's really cool. And it's just got this gold glittery finish on the inside of it. And I'm really delighted that this friend of mine actually got a mouse from it, one of the really cool, bright pink ones. But I was also really pleased that I got that. And I can't find any references anywhere online apart from his one about his mouse, and that he had since then got this pin. Getting the pin was almost like an Easter egg in itself, just because by the time it came, that was the end of last week. I think that was in the weekend. It was in Saturday's mail. No, it was from the courier, but he'd put it in the letterbox because it was only little. And so therefore it was picked up from our letterbox on Saturday. And Easter was in April. Yeah, I hope they do more of those. That would be really, really cool. But yeah, keep an eye on your own regional, as in whatever country you're in, Logitech Twitter account, and keep an eye out for if they do anything like those, because every now and then they do. I've known other people who've ended up with some other really cool stuff. The webcam that I've got, Logitech New Zealand, Australia, New Zealand, Logitech G ANZ, so it's the gamer section of their company. Support disabled streamers in New Zealand when they are streaming, sometimes for events. And so one of my friends had an event that he was streaming for. I don't think it was his birthday one, but they actually sponsored him by providing some Logitech gear to give as prizes to people in his stream over the course of the week that he was going to be celebrating whatever it was. It was a celebration, that one, rather than a fundraiser. And my son won the webcam. It's the Logitech Stream Cam, and he actually said while the stream was going on, I mean, I was watching it too, he said if he wins it, he was going to give it to me because he's not streaming, so he doesn't need it. And then, sure enough, the draw came and he won it, and so he gave it to me, and that randomly turned up. But the Australia-New Zealand Logitech G people seem to be very, very supportive of smaller streamers in lots of different ways. So it's really encouraging to actually have that sort of thing going on. So what about we read the story? Yes, I can actually talk, but I'm just whispering because I'm leaning in close to my microphone so you can hear me. Story time, hey? Right. So, I'm Jev. I'm reading A Terrible Tomboy by Angela Brazel, and this is chapter 17, Dame Eleanor's Ghost. Ooh, Ooh, let's see what's going to happen in this story. Goodness me, it's going to be really interesting. Dame Eleanor's ghost, hence the picture of the dog with the ghost sheet on, the Halloween costume. I just think that's a really cute picture. Right, Dame Eleanor's ghost. What see you there that hath so cowarded and chased your blood out of appearance? The voice kind of goes with today's story. That's the opening poem verse. The weather which had been I'm just going to lean in slightly closer to my microphone so I don't push my throat quite so hard. The weather, which had been beautifully fine and mild for the time of year during October and the first half of November, kept up for Peggy's birthday on the 21st. By good luck, that important occasion fell on a Saturday, so there was no tiresome school to interfere with the festivities. It was quite common back in the era that this was written, and even when I was really little, not so much when I was a bit older, that if a child's birthday was on a particular day of the week, that was the day you actually had the birthday party on, and it was really awkward. Like having to get all these kids who don't normally go on school buses to come on the school bus with you to come home to your place so they could come to your birthday party. And you're trying to explain how the school bus works because they always walk to school or mum drops them off, all sorts of things. Anyway, yeah. So by good luck, that important occasion fell on a Saturday, so there was no tiresome school to interfere with the festivities. That means they've got most of the day. As the Vaughan family was more rich in goodwill than in coin of the realm, the presents were mostly of a kind which I am afraid either Maud Middleton or Phyllis and Marjorie Norton would have scorned. They would have. But to Peggy they gave the utmost satisfaction. There was the much longed-for guinea pig from father, which had been smuggled up in a hamper and kept with elaborate care in a remote portion of the barn, a secret which Bobby found the utmost difficulty in preserving. I can imagine, because Bobby is about 3 or 4 years younger than Peggy. A nightdress case, worked by Lillian's neat fingers, so it's a fabric thing for putting her night sleepwear in. At one stage when I was growing up, you could get like a soft toy which had a zip down the back, and you could fold up your nightie or your pyjamas and shove them in there and then do up the zip and have them sitting on the bed. I don't know why, it was just one of those things. So this is probably a precursor to that, where it's actually just a cloth cover that you can put them in just to keep them all together. Anyway, a nightdress case worked by Lillian's neat fingers, so worked means done with hand-stitched. A cork frame from Bobby, made under Archie's supervision, a round pink and white wool mat, which Nancy had crocheted at odd times during the evenings, and a little mug from Joe, with a Welshwoman in a tall hat on one side, and a present from Llandrindod, sorry, I think that's how you say it, on the other. Brought on a visit to the famous wells, which he had paid in the visit was paid in company with the church choir. So obviously Joe is part of the church choir. Let's find out about Llandrindod. Let's see if it's a real place. It probably is. Interact. Here we go. Let's have a look. No, not Fitzroy Street. Excuse me, water. Llandrindod Wells. It's the tickles. Oh my goodness, that's a long way. I'm going to have to go and get my throat lozenges. It's just got to that stage. I'll be back and I'll get that out of your way. So I'm just going to pull this out a little bit so you can see it. And where they live is up here somewhere, okay? Llandrindod Wells is there. I'll be back in a moment. Sorry about this. Right, that's better. Throat lozenge. So there's Wales. This big lump here is Wales. Okay, so that's Ireland, Wales, that lump there, England, Scotland. That's where it is. Real place. I'm just going to see what the countrysides are like. Actually, no, I wasn't going to do that. That shows you the hills. And they come from somewhere up here where it's a cross between the flatter farming country and the steeper farming country where it starts to get hillier. It would have made sense to actually travel down through here because that is not as steep as this here or over here. Just because, right, I'll turn that one off. So he'd gone there on a church visit to Llandrindod Wells. They're probably miraculous wells or something like that. There were people who used to go to places like that. Right. Archie came up during the morning bearing a pretty writing case, an offering from himself and Miss Forster, while a parcel had arrived from India containing the loveliest carved sandalwood box inlaid with mother of pearl to show that Aunt Helen had not forgotten her little niece. Now, I grew up, sandalwood, I didn't used to, as far as I knew, I wasn't aware of sandalwood as a real wood, but it was the name of a pattern of laminated top that was used on kitchen benches. The brand is called Formica. There are other ones like Laminex and stuff like that. And it looks like wood grain, but it's white as a base and then soft greys to make the pattern of the wood grain. And it's a bit odd because as a pattern, because wood is not usually that sort of pale grey and white. And yet, instead of being plain white, which your eye says, I'm going to see all the dirt on, and it's boring as, it's very, very peaceful pattern. I don't know why, it just is. But you can't get it in New Zealand anymore. And well done on the sheep. I don't think those are the sheep that we've had before. I will find you some more. I'm not going to find you some more sheep. I'm going to find you some more something to do on a jigsaw puzzle. Some more puzzle. That's what I meant. This one, I think. One out of my way because it's distracting me. 117. Don't want to make it too busy for you. Ah! I created the link. I've got to do it again. No. I've got to give you something else now. I went and busted it. I'll do a different one. That one will do. Just think of it as giving my voice a rest. Okay, I'm going to leave that at 112 because there's a lot of pieces in there that look very, very similar. This time I need to remember to hit the copy button for the link. That is what didn't happen. Okay? And I've copied it now. I just need to put it in the command. And we're good to go. Right. Now. All good, all good. Right. That's the way. Go for it. I was going to say something about that. A writing case. So that will be like a box that has paper and envelopes, possibly some pens in it or pencils, maybe a little ruler, maybe even some sealing wax. Don't know. That sort of stuff. Things for writing with, but pretty, because she's a girl. And girls generally like pretty things. Some guys do too, which is cool. And some girls don't like them. I kind of did, but not the frou-frou, fluffy, frilly stuff. I didn't mind it with other people, but just not for me. Just don't make me wear it, you know. And people would want to put it on me because for some reason I had the right sort of cute for it. And I'm like, I don't think so. Thankfully, my parents were really good about that sort of thing. Anyway. And the parcel had arrived from India containing the loveliest carved sandalwood box. That's where I got to, sandalwood. So I only knew sandalwood as the name of the pattern of this grey laminate. Very, very pale grey, but it looks like wood grain, but it just feels super smooth. And then when we're up in, I knew sandalwood was a real wood, but I'd never seen any. When we were up in Vanuatu 5 years ago now, in the little boat, the family boat, just me and Phil, we would go ashore and spend time with the people in the different villages that were up there. And one of the things that people do is they will grow, there are some plants that grow naturally up there, and then there are other ones that have been introduced that aren't causing a problem, but they're useful timbers. And I think sandalwood is one of those second ones, because people still want sandalwood because it does have this smell. So you can buy soap that is sandalwood scented. And my great aunt who had lived in China for 7 years, she gave me some one time and I loved that soap. In fact, I don't know if I ever actually used it. I just enjoyed the smell of it. And it was based out of a distilled fragrance from actual sandalwood. It was not a synthetic version, so it was very pleasant. So it was really neat because we're up there and one of the guys gives us this piece of wood and says, here, this is sandalwood. Do you want to take a piece home with you? Which we would have if the boat had not been sunk. And it's got that, the sandalwood when it's like that has that fragrance, has that smell, and it's very pleasant. It's a base smell that a lot of other things use that are used for guys is what they used to call musk, but not the really strong version, just as an underlying comfortable smell. There are various other woody sort of ones which are used in a lot of like aftershaves and colognes when they were using natural extracts before the days of the synthetic ones. And sandalwood is a really good base one for that because men and women, nobody feels like it's gendering them too much the wrong way if that's their thing. It's just something which is a very pleasant, like the look of this wood, fake wood laminate was. But so this is a pencil box. No, not necessarily pencil box. A box with mother of pearl, which is a shell that looks pearly, set into it to make patterns and pictures. It's a box made out of this, so anything she puts in it, if it's fabric, is going to end up smelling like sandalwood. But also the box itself will just have this little waft of the smell when you go past it. Lovely stuff. Anyway, as the birthday was not so very long after the 5th of November, they had decided to keep any Guy Fawkes celebrations until then and had been busy for some days collecting sticks for a bonfire. Remember, they live on a farm, so they've got room for this. The party consisted solely of themselves and Archie, for Father's suggestion of the 5 Miss Davenports was received with howls of indignation, and Lillian and Nancy's combined efforts had produced a cake with 12 tiny coloured wax candles stuck into icing sugar on the top, one for every year of Peggy's life, and which had to be blown out in turns by the assembled company for good luck. Wasn't such an easy thing to do then, to have special little candles for your cake. The bonfire was held in the stubble field beyond the stackyard. The stubble field is where you have grown your crop, you have mown your crop, you've harvested your crop, and it's got stubble across the field. So it's the bottom of the stems of all the, whatever the crop was, wheat or whatever, is sticking up. You can't run through it in bare feet because if you stand on top of those, they're quite uncomfortable. But other than that, it just sits there and then the roots rot down in the field. But it's an ideal place for doing something like this because there's not so much dry material there that it's going to catch fire to the whole field, I hope. But you're not actually killing off anything that you want growing, like grass in a field that you're going to be putting your animals and they need to eat the grass. You're not going to kill off the grass with the heat from the bonfire, because there's no grass there. You're not going to kill off any crop because the crop has already been harvested, so it makes sense. The bonfire was held in the stubble field beyond the stackyard and roared up on like a fiery furnace, making quite a red glow in the sky, while its red embers, roasted potatoes and chestnuts to a turn. Archie had even contrived to manufacture a few fireworks back in the day. Having shut himself up in a room over the stables at the Willows, a combination of peculiar odours and a singed eyebrow alone testified to his occupation. To be sure, the Catherine wheel stuck and utterly refused to turn in spite of all pokings and proddings, and the rockets only fizzled off near the ground instead of shooting up as they ought to have done, but the squibs and crackers were quite effective, and a train of gunpowder, laid down to represent a fiery serpent, blazed away in fine style. The fire balloon, however, was the success of the evening, for it shot straight up and floated across the sky like a beautiful meteor, its pink and green sides giving a charming effect, till at length it dwindled away and became a mere speck in the distance, leaving the children more full of admiration than ever for Archie's talents. I do hope it had gone out by the time it landed. Once upon a time, you could make your own fireworks, because it wasn't banned in most countries to have gunpowder and various other things for it. I'm just looking at the time. I'm going to have to go and put those vegetables in the oven, and I'm a long way off finishing the chapter. After the birthday, the weather broke and a foretaste of winter arrived, with cold winds and grey, murky skies. Oh yeah, we haven't got to what this one's about. Mrs. Whatever her name's ghost, or Lady Whatever her name. A foretaste of winter arrived, with cold winds and grey, murky skies and occasional falls of snow. Archie caught a severe chill, hunting for microscopical, meaning very, very small, microscopic, we would say now, specimens in the pond, and was in bed for some weeks, nursed by his doting aunt, consoling himself for his enforced idleness by planning such improvements at both the Willows and the Abbey as were calculated to make their owner's hair stand on end. I can quite imagine. Now, I don't know if you remembered, Archie most of the time seems to do really well health-wise, but the reason he's not in school is because he is actually of frail health. He gets crook fairly easily, and so he's gone ahead and done it. Just goes to prove that no, he shouldn't be in a school, unlike what Mrs. What's-her-name said, the other Mrs. What's-her-name. As the long evenings closed in, Joe, ever timorous with regard to the supernatural, became the prey of superstitious fears. He saw shrouds in the candle. So when the candlelight is flickering, in his mind's eye he could see a shroud. That's a cloth that you wrap someone in when they're dead. Which is why Ghosts at Halloween. It used to be a common thing, people wearing a sheet over them pretend to be a ghost. It was kind of reference to ghosts and a shroud. And so he was seeing a hint of that in the candle flame. And corpse lights in the churchyard. What are corpse lights? Let's find out if that's actually a real word that the dictionary has. We'll see. Oops, I need to put the command in for it too. We don't have a definition for that. I'm sorry. A corpse light, I think. I will find out for you. Oh, here you go. A corpse candle or light is a flame or ball of light, often blue, that is seen to travel just above the ground on the route from the cemetery to the dying person's house and back again, and is particularly associated with Wales. There you go, the place. That makes sense now as to why Joe would be thinking of corpse lights. Oh my goodness, Joe. Corpse lights in the churchyard, Rollo's howling filled him with forebodings. Rollo's the puppy. Filled him with forebodings. Oh no, I think something's going to happen. Wonderful, well done on that. Wonderful. And a screech owl flying over the orchard sent him into a panic. Let's see if we've got screech owl. I really want to see if the new version of my dictionary is working. Yes, it's working, see? Any New World owl of genus Megascops. Okay, whatever. They make a really weird sound. That's why they're called a screech owl. Okay. New World, as in they come from the Americas. But obviously they were around in England at this stage. And yeah, they would be really weird hearing one of those, even if you know what they are. If you're feeling already a little bit nervous about strange things, then things like a screech owl is going to make it feel really worse. We have some things in New Zealand that make odd noises. And you don't really want them to give you a fright. If you don't know what they are, or if you're unsure, or if something else is kind of creeping you out, you don't really want to have them affecting you in any way, because they really feel quite icky. Oh, sorry, I just suddenly noticed a really weird sound and I'm like, what on earth is that sound? Just tools down in the workshop. I'm going to make that one a bit more. Come on. I want to go and do the next thing, but I can't because I have to do that, otherwise it won't work. Over here, and then we'll do the next one. And it should take you slightly longer, which gives me more time to actually read a bit more story. And there you go. Hang on, save. Yep, should be good to go. Right. We'll get to the next part of the story, hopefully sometime soon. I might need to ask somebody to start cutting up vegetables. I've got them peeled, not cut up. Just sending a message. See if that happens or not. We're having roast leg of wild pig for dinner. Got a friend who's a hunter. He does bow hunting, mainly bow hunting, and wild pigs in New Zealand are a pest problem in some places. They dig through all the new little shoots of native trees that are getting started in the bush, and it kills them off. And they eat the roots of other ones that they really like and things like that. So he goes out there hunting them. It cuts the numbers down, but it also means he's got more meat than he needs, so he's given some to us. So we've got roast leg of wild pig for dinner tonight, wild pork. And so it's meant to be having a really long, slow roast, because it can be very tough otherwise. And we've got a friend coming for dinner, so there you go. That's what that was about. The vegetables need to go in. We got to the screech owl. He heard ghostly footfalls among the ruins and mysterious taps on the stable window when he was suppering the horses, giving them their evening meal, which, in spite of Lillian's reassurances, he persisted in regarding as a warning, though for which of his numerous relatives it was intended kept him in a state of perpetual doubt and uneasiness. I'm guessing he thinks that means one of his relatives are going to die. Just a moment. I'll just turn this microphone off. And I'm back. Yes, so thankfully he's going to do that for me. For us. It's lovely. Yes, it does sound yummy. We've had it once, we've had it a couple of times before actually, and it's been more successful than I expected. But yeah, when it's wild meat, a slow roast works a lot better than a normal roast, even if it means that you're not going to get it golden crispy on the outside. And no, I don't do crackling, because our friend singes them instead of doing whatever else it is to deal with pig hair, and it's just like, I'm a bit squeamish when it comes to certain things. So crackling, I'm not interested in the crackling if it means we're going to have singy stuff on the outside, especially because wild pigs often have dark skin, not pale skin, and it's a bit weird when you've got this dark skin and you're crackling rather than the generic bland colour that bacon rind is, you know. Anyway, but sure, it should be yummy. I'll let you know. Oh, look, eyes looking back at us. Ooh. Right. So I think Joe was worried that these signs indicate that somebody is going to die or have something horrible happen. I'm not sure. We'll find out. This lozenge is working. It's good. It doesn't clear my throat, but it stops me coughing. Right. In spite of Lillian's reassurances, he persisted in regarding as a warning those things, though for which of his numerous relatives it was intended, kept him in a state of perpetual doubt and uneasiness. The worst of it was that he infected Nancy with his alarms to such an extent that she could scarcely be persuaded to put her nose out at the back door after dusk. Nancy's the housemaid, except on her evening out, when her sweetheart came to fetch her. Well, you know, that's okay, because she's not on her own. She's going to have a bloke with her who'll probably scare off anyone or anything. It was distinctly inconvenient if a pail of water was wanted during the evening, or if she happened to have left the coal box standing in the yard. It meant that somebody else had to realise it was out there and go and get it. instead of her doing her job and going and dealing with it. The Abbey boasted the reputation of maintaining what Peggy called a real, live, genuine ghost, though none of the family had ever caught a glimpse of it. It seemed to prefer to manifest itself to Joe and to chance visitors from the village who came up to the house on dark evenings. The washerwoman's little girl had heard footsteps behind her on the drive and a distinct clanking as of chains, while old Betty Carson swore on her Bible oath that she had seen something white moving among the ruins, which groaned as in the expression of the keenest mental anguish. Oh, oh. And when Mr. Vaughan suggested it might prove nothing worse than a young bullock with indigestion, she had dismissed the idea as most profane. Profane, there's a word we can test. I think it's the opposite of sacred. A person or thing that is profane. I just asked you what... Okay, hang on a minute. We may get the extra meaning in a minute. This is meant to actually be a new version of it, which shows me some other... There you go! To violate something sacred, to treat with abuse, irreverence, obloquy, or contempt, to desecrate. So it is something unholy, is profane. So there you go. We now have in our dictionary app, unclean, ritually impure, unholy, desecrating a holy place or thing. It's an adjective. So the person who created this widget for me has gone through and done an updated version, which gives us alternate meanings that are from the website that it pulls its meanings from, which is wonderful because, as you saw, the very first definition was not going to help us, and yet the original one that they created for me, it would only pull the first definition. And I thought they were going to get me to put through a typed command to say which one I wanted, but no, they've got it so it just rotates for us. Wonderful. So big thank you to them, indeed. It's fantastic. I like it. I don't know if you guys like it, but I like it. Anyway, beyond, oh, that's right. The old Betty Carson thought that the idea was most profane. A sacrilegious type of a comment to make, that it might just be a young bullock with indigestion. Beyond the fact that a lady in white was supposed to haunt both the ruins and the oak wood, weeping and wringing her hands in orthodox ghostly fashion, the children had not been able to learn much of the story, for there were so many and divergent accounts of it, all told, with uncertainty as to names and dates, and in that very oracular, not to say muddled, style sometimes indulged in by rustic historians. That means as in spoken stories, not written down, the way people tell stories. But one wet afternoon, finding David alone in the harness room, Joe's the general farmhand. David is an old chap. David alone in the old harness room where the old man had lighted a fire to make some wonderful decoction of foxgloves wherewith to doctor a cow with a strained leg. A decoction is like a concoction, but it's different. Go on, let's do it. Also, I get an extraction or essence of something obtained by boiling it down. There you go. Whereas concoction is just putting a whole lot of bits together. A decoction is what my grandfather used to make out of dock roots for getting rid of boils. If you have a case of boils, which are like pimples but huge, and they don't go away, like you keep getting them, my cousin got it one time. They're in your system. The bugs that cause the boils are in your blood supply, and they keep popping up wherever they feel like it, and they're very, very painful. So he made a decoction of dock root, where you boil the dock roots and boil them, and then you let it sit overnight and cool down. You strain it off, and then you take the liquid and it tastes horrible. A certain amount, just a little bit, every day, morning and night. Within a week, her boils went away. And the doctors had been trying to get rid of the boils for months with antibiotics, and it wasn't working. Obviously, they were resistant. Those bacteria that caused them were resistant to antibiotics, but they weren't resistant to dock root decoction. Anyway, so that's what this old man's doing. Not something that you take, but something you put on the surface, because foxglove is toxic unless it's done in super small amounts for heart problems. Angina, I think. Anyway, so he had been also boiling something down with foxgloves to put a dressing on the cow's leg. Cow with a strained leg. They seated themselves on a sack of potatoes in front of the cheerful blaze, and with the aid of a little judicious flattery, I like that term, and coaxing, managed to cajole him into a true and circumstantial account of the family ghost. She used lots of out-of-use words. I was going to say archaic, but they're not technically archaic, just not commonly used anymore. Words that I'm familiar with, but just they don't get used. Although he was somewhat crusty to begin with, like kind of grumpy and not really inclined to get into conversation, is their use of crusty here. Although he was somewhat crusty to begin with, old David, like all who have the gift of narrative, enjoyed telling a story, and he soon warmed to his work. "It were my father as told me," he began, "and he had it from his father, and his'n afore him, for it be a powerful long time ago, it be. Aye, time do pass by quick for sure." "When did it happen?" asked Peggy hastily, hoping to nip in the bud one of the old fellow's rambling divergences from the point. You guys need to come up with some sort of way of getting me back on track, seriously. Maybe it should be a redemption. Maybe we should do that as one of our Stream Elements ones. "In the reign of Henry the Sixth, so they say. Aye, it was Henry, for it were the same name, I mind me, as the old squire. Reigned 1422 to 1461, married Margaret of Anjou," put in Bobby, who liked to air his knowledge. "I don't know who he married. It weren't nothing to do with marrying. It were fighting first in those days, though I suppose they married too, like other folk when they found time." "Who were fighting?" inquired Bobby. "Why, it was the Wars of the Roses, of course. Sorry, no, I thought that was old David. It wasn't. Well, it was the Wars of the Roses, of course," answered Peggy crushingly. "The problem is I enjoy all the extra information you tell us, so I just sit and listen." "Thank you, Squibble, that's fine. I don't have a problem with it. But if anyone does want to at some stage, maybe we should do some sort of a redemption thing with either channel points or loyalty points. So if you have any ideas for anything along those lines, it doesn't have to be for that, do go and put them over in the chat in the Discord server. Anyway, we'll carry on. Nay, it won't no War of Roses, I can tell you. It was real bloody battles they fought then, with swords and pikes and spears and the like. Bloody as in, there was blood everywhere, not swearing. He was thinking they meant actually, like fighting with flowers. No, Jonathan would know, but Jonathan's lurking. The Wars of the Roses were between the House of Lancaster and the House of York, I think. There was one side was represented by red roses and one side was represented by white roses. And I think the House of Tudor was a combined thing, which is why we have the white and red roses together. And I'm not sure, and I'm hoping that Jonathan gets to hear this and type something in the chat to correct me, because I feel like that's wildly wrong. But I have Lancaster and York in my mind. So hopefully those are the names of the two big sides in the Wars of the Roses. I know that they were represented by a white rose and a red rose. They had specific style to them. Actually, I'm going off on a rabbit trail. I'm warning you this time. Hang on. Need to put this here. not there. Images. There's a certain very stylized rose image that you will recognize. And it was the ones that represented the two sides of a fight. Yeah, Lancaster and York. I got it. Wow. Some almost very clippable audio bits in today's reading. If anyone's into doing clips, you're most welcome to make fun of me and laugh about the different responses I make and add them to my clips, because Jonathan's done some clips and that's about it. And I love the fact that he did them, but you're most welcome to add to them. I just don't do them because I'm not very good at that sort of stuff. Oh, I'm glad you enjoy them too, Coleslaw. That's great, my diversions. I love finding out all these things, which is why I'll happily talk about them. And I was going to shout out to my son downstairs and thank him for doing the veggies, but he's already finished and he's not in that downstairs anymore, so I can't ask him. Now let's see if I can find that picture. I should recognise it as soon as I see it. I can't see it. Oh, hang on. There it is. I put it in the above folder. Let's do this. Make it bigger so you can see it. You will some of you anyway, will recognise this. Lancaster rose and the York rose. There you go. That represented the two different sides. That's the Wars of the Roses, because those were the emblems used to represent those two families, those two households, and everyone who supported them. And as a result of all of that, I got it. I can't believe it. This is just amazing, considering the fact that I don't remember this sort of stuff very well at all. Sorry, I'm just really, really delighted about this. So, yes, my squealer's really out of the park today, if you want to use that sort of terminology. I know where this one is. There it is. So here we go. And that, so you've got the red rose of Lancaster, the white rose of York, because it was often shown as a double like this instead of a single layer. And this is the Tudor rose, and the Tudor rose combines the red rose of Lancaster and the white rose of York. There you go. And I'm not going to go into what all happened. You can go and ask Jonathan. In fact, actually, I should give you, for those of you who haven't already, did it work? Yes. Now, the last stream he did was Daisy. That's why it says they enjoy Daisy. I've got enjoy instead of play, because a lot of the people that I do shout outs for aren't playing games most of the time. They're doing something else, like making art, cooking, dancing, reading books, and playing doesn't seem like the right verb to put in front of it in the shout out. So I put enjoy. But he will be doing reading from time to time. And even if he's playing something like Daisy, if he's in a chat break or a quiet time, you can ask him all about that sort of stuff. He will tell you all about it, because Tudor, the period when those two houses came together and formed a new one, the House of Tudor, is the area that he studies and reads all that stuff about. Do you like that? As white-faced Scops owl. Photographer is Paul Rollison, and he has a photo gallery. And if you want it, I'll have to go and find it for you. Otherwise, you can look it up for yourself. It's a cute owl. I really, really like that owl. It's so cute. I just want to hug it. It's so cute. Sorry. Let's go and find another picture to do for a jigsaw puzzle. There's not many on the standard jigsaw puzzle page that I use. Okay, let's find something else. What are other words that I don't want to do roses. We had gardens in the earlier books that I did. Use the Lancaster symbol maybe. Yeah, something like that would be one way of doing it, wouldn't it? Oh, I love that owl. It's just so cute. So cute. It probably doesn't feel cute. It probably feels really scary, especially when it sees mice and voles and all those other little rodents that owls go for. I wonder if I can do it that way, actually. That one I can't. It depends on where I got the picture from as to whether I can do it as a jigsaw puzzle. Sometimes you can import a picture for a jigsaw puzzle, but it has to be something that that one there. I have to get the right link for you. It has to be something that is not behind like a paywall for it to work. Copy, image, address. I think this is what I need to do. We'll see, won't we? I've done it before. But it actually has to be the actual image address, not just the website that it comes from. You know how it gives us the credit line about it? Because it's a graphic, I'm just going to put the website that it comes from. We'll see how we go. Properties, put this in here. Oh, I was doing the wrong thing. I was trying to put the link into the image one. That was the wrong one. I do like that owl. It sort of looks like it's looking at you like this, really. Sort of a stance. This one's going to be hard, guys, because there's lots of white around it. I suppose I should have got a trimmed one, shouldn't I? That's why you were saying that particular one, not the whole lot. How about I do another version of that? I find the Tudor. Let's do Tudor. That'll make it a bit easier. Then there won't be quite so many. There seem to be quite a few variations on it. And I don't know which one is technically the right one. I think it was whoever decided that they were going to embroider it or whatever meant that it was presented in lots of different ways. These are all reminding me of poppies, as in the sort of poppies that we have at Anzac Day. You know what I mean. Oh, no, that's a stock photo. I can't have that one. This is cool. This one's actually made out of something, except I don't think it's going to let me do it. No, that one won't work. Okay, let's look up a pumpkin. Let's just use one that they've already got. Sorry about all that, guys. I just realised that the other one was going to have way too many pieces to be able to do it. Pieces that were white, as you can see in that overlay. Pumpkin. No, not pumpkin soup. That would make me hungry. Let's do this one. That looks a little bit slightly more interesting. Some of them have just like the same style of pumpkin, but lots and lots of them. And other ones are like, oh yeah, here's one pumpkin. And it's like, oh, no. Let's do something a little bit more doable. Let's try this. That looks more doable. Okay, number of pieces. I'm going to be mean and give you 140 pieces because I'm trying to read this. Oh dear. Come on, give me the link. That's it. That's the one. Find the right place to paste it. Put it in here. And save it. There you go. You can do the puzzle. Get that one out of the way. Come over here. And then we can carry on reading. Right. And you can tell from the picture of it, the colours, that it is definitely a pumpkin puzzle. Right. Rambling divergences from the point. Yes, exactly. No, weren't no War of Roses, I can tell you. It was a real bloody battles they fought then, with swords and pikes and spears and the like. For there were two kings. There was two kings, both with a notion of reigning, and when kings falls out as their subjects has to do the fighting for them, I takes it. Henry the Sixth and Edward the Fourth, put in Peggy. Oh dear, I shouldn't have done all that rambling before, about what I thought it was about, because they were going to tell me in the story. I should know this by now. Henry the Sixth and Edward the Fourth, put in Peggy. Please go on, David. Art mirroring life here. There were Vaughans at the Abbey then, just as there is Vaughans at the Abbey now, continued the old man, staring meditatively into his foxglove brew, as he thought... as though he could see a mental picture in the pot. And him as had it then was Sir Richard Vaughan, the one as lies under the cracked old monument in the corner at church, with the dragon and the crooked arrows on it, nodded the children. So this will be one of those effigies. Some old English churches have tombs that are kind of like a rectangular box shape with a sculpture of the person as they were in their armour or in their best clothes or something like that. Usually someone who is an important person locally. And I'm guessing that's what they mean. And that would be why he's referring to it as a monument. With the dragon and the crooked arrows on it, nodded the children. Well, this Sir Richard Vaughan, he favoured King Henry of Lancaster. There you go, you know which one's which now. Henry the Sixth represented, which colour was it for the Lancasters? The reds in this corner. No, in this corner. He favoured King Henry of Lancaster and went out to fight for him with 40 gentlemen and yeomen at his back, to say naught of lesser folk. So gentlemen were the landed people, the gentry. Yeomen were their important people who had a high level within society but weren't the gentlemen, so a little bit below them. And then you have the lesser folk that David's referring to. Excuse me a moment. Sorry, we don't want to have messes on screen. They met Duke Edward of York, him as afterwards became king. So, Edward the Fourth of the Yorks, that is the white side in this corner. I could put that picture back up, couldn't I? Henry the Sixth of the Lancasters in this corner, and Edward the Fourth of the House of York in this corner. You know, those whole sort of, they do in America. I just turned off my microphone. You know, like they have at the arenas with the keyboards playing in North America, like I'm saying North America, I know they do it for ice hockey too, but all that sort of stuff, and they take it up the different keys, all that sort of stuff. Not that I've been to a lot of that sort of thing, but I've seen representations on TV enough to know that it actually is a real thing, and it's really hyped, the two different sides of anything, sporting event. Anyway, they met Duke Edward of York, him as afterwards became king, at Mortimer's Cross, which ain't so far from here. Neither, for I went once myself when I were a lad with my aunt's cousin, who drove a good horse and gig. Let me see, how many years will it be agone? Oh, David, never mind. Do go on with the story. What happened at the battle? Shall we find out if Mortimer's Cross is real? You better be quick if you don't want me to. Battle of Mortimer's Cross. There you go. It's real. So Mortimer's Cross, where the battle was, is real. Let's find out where. Oh. So I keep forgetting that England is kind of as small as it is. Right, yeah. I'm going to show you on the map. And let's interact with that because I shut that. And we'll type in here. Mortimer's Cross, Lowminster, or Leominster, which I think is actually Lowminster. The Battle of Mortimer's Cross. So that's Mortimer's Cross Township. There's Birmingham. There's Mortimer's Cross, and they are from up here. Remember? They're from up round here, so down here. But he's talking about it not being that far away. I would like to give you a distance, but I cannot give you one. I'm sorry. The battle itself, let's see what the terrain's like. Okay, so they came down the valleys. You can see why there's a road through there, because there's a valley through there. There's another valley up here too. Then it's flatland here. So here at Mortimer's Cross, it's right at the edge of the hills. But the actual battle, if I turn off terrain and turn on this, took place just out of Mortimer Cross itself, down here in this triangle somewhere. The battle took place there, in someone's field, obviously. Ooh, yes, absolutely. See, Mortimer's Cross is not big, is it? It's just another village. It's not a town. This is like workshops or farm buildings. It would have possibly been farm buildings at one stage. It's now like the local garage and a bunch of other stuff like that. The Grange at Mortimer's Cross, that will be the pub. Because at crossroads in that part of the world, in England and Wales, you often have a pub. Why not? You're going to make money off all the people who come through there. So why wouldn't you put a pub there? Anyway, Mortimer's Cross. So he's been to Mortimer's Cross. We know this. Right, we'll carry on. So David had been to Mortimer's Cross, which is where the battle was. And obviously the kids know about this. A lot of English people who would have been reading this book nearest the time it was written would also know. Oh, David, never mind. Do go on with the story. What happened at the battle? And we shall too. He were killed for sure, were Sir Richard, and his head took by their Yorkists, and kicked about like a football afore they nailed it up over Hereford Gate. You'd never find his skull if you looked inside the old monument, naught but the rest of his bones. Oh dear, because he was fighting on the side that wasn't the ones that were winning. How awful. Then is it his ghost? "Oh no, Bobby, it's the White Lady, you know." David took advantage of these interruptions to lift his pot from the fire and examine its contents, but finding them not yet to his liking, put it on again and continued, "It weren't enough for they Yorkists to get Sir Richard's head. They wanted his lands along of it, and they marched across country, a set of bloodthirsty ruffians they was, and laid siege to the Abbey. Dame Eleanor, a widow, new made, as you might say, couldn't hold it above 2 days, for the pick of the men had all gone with her husband, and the best part of they lay stretched out stiff at Mortimer's Cross." Dead bodies on the battlefield. "So she lets them in at last, saw agin her will, and gives up the keys to Lord Grey of Wigmore. You'd have thought that would have satisfied them, but they wanted more." "What do they want?" said Peggy, for David seemed disposed to rest from his labours and attend to his cookery. She's prodding him to carry on with the story. "Sir Richard had left a son behind him, a young lad of 9 or 10 or thereabouts, and he were the heir. It were him as Lord Grey wanted, told a fine tale as how he'd take him up to London and get him put as page to the great Earl of Warwick, which were as good as making his fortune." "Did he go?" "Nay, his mother were no fool, neither, and she knowed full well she'd ne'er see him again, no more'n you'd see a duck if you give it in charge of the fox. She'd sent him away safe out of the Abbey by that passage to the cave, most like, where you very near lost your lives last summer, and she weren't going to let on where he were, not to no one." "Did she tell? Did he get off safe? What happened?" "Let me tell my tale in my own way," said David testily. "They was brutes in those days and had no respect for God or man, let alone woman. So they clapped a thumbscrew on Dame Eleanor to sharpen her wits." A thumbscrew? Has anyone seen a macadamia nut cracker? It's a thing where, because macadamias, to crack them open, the shell on them is very, very, very hard and quite thick. And to open them and still have the nut usable, you need to slowly squeeze them until they crack. Well, a thumbscrew, a macadamia nut cracker uses a knob that you turn or a handle, and it has a threaded bit that goes down through an engineering nut, not an edible nut. That, you know, those hexagonal shape with the curly pattern inside. So it screws down through that, and a lot of macadamia nut crackers are this sort of shape. So the nut is at the top, the screw nut is at the top, and then you've got a flat bit down here which the macadamia nut sits on, and you wind the handle down so it presses on the top of that nut, and you keep winding it and it puts more pressure on, and you keep winding it and it puts more pressure on, and you keep winding it, and eventually the shell of the nut goes ping, doesn't fall off, but it just sort of cracks, and you can then open it and get the nut out. Thumb screws are kind of like that. Really horrible, because it's not putting any effort on the person who is trying to torture you to get information. They just wind it down a little bit more and it keeps that same amount of pressure on. Wind it down a bit more, it makes a bit more pressure, and it hurts some more than what it did before. And it's like, doesn't go away, doesn't stop. So yeah, it was used as a form of getting information. And I'm sorry, but that's really what used to happen. They clapped a thumbscrew on Dame Eleanor to sharpen her wits. I should have given you a violence warning, eh? Well, there's a little bit more coming. Sorry. It's nasty, this little bit, but it's only a small bit of the story. "Oh, poor thing, she didn't tell, did she?" cried the children, who could not forbear comments. They couldn't give up on responding to anything when it's that intense. "Tell? Not she, though her thumb was crushed to a jelly, and when they seed it weren't no manner of use, they let her go, because she didn't say anything that was going to help them. But that Lord Grey of Wigmore was a disciple of old Nick himself, by which he means the devil." Nasty. A disciple of Old Nick is a euphemism for a really nasty person. And what does he do but catch hold of Dame Eleanor's daughter, which weren't more'n a little maid like Miss Peggy here. Yeah, more violence coming, sorry. And put the screw on her thumb, thinking it would loosen her mother's tongue to hear her shriek. There's things that women can bear up to a certain pass, but don't touch their young uns, and they'll let you know. At the first cry as was raised by that child, Dame Eleanor went clean off her head, and breaking away from them as held her, she seized up a dagger and stabbed herself through the breast, with an awful shout of laughter, shutting her lips forever from them, as would wrest the secret from her. Wow. If you're going to torture my children to get information out of me, I'm going to put paid to that, not by stopping you torturing my children, but by getting rid of me so my children can't give you any information. And what became of the poor little boy and girl? Lord Grey felt a bit shamed like when he seed what were done, and he sent the girl home to his wife, who brought her up kind. And the boy had been took away by that time to them as was his friends. He grew up to manhood and learned to fight like everyone else in they times, and then King Henry came to his own again, and he got back the Abbey. But King Henry didn't stay long on the throne, did he? I thought the history book said that King Edward landed at Ravenspur and fought the Battle of Barnet. We learnt it in our dates last Monday. I know naught of books, is what my father told me, and his father afore him. There have been many kings since then, I reckon, but the Vaughans have held the Abbey in spite of him. But David, you haven't told us about the ghost yet. And that's the most important part of all. The ghost? Oh, that be Dame Eleanor for sure. They say she walks around the ruins of the Abbey and across to the oak wood, whilst she goes away and no one sees her for long enough. And while she comes back, and they do say, said David, lowering his voice, sorry, that if there's a death in the family, goodness me. Passes Jev all the tea. Yeah, thank you very much. That's good. Very appreciated. With lots of honey and lots of lemon. And ginger. I don't know if any of you had that before. You get one particular spot on the back of your throat that gets dry. And it makes you cough. I'm just going to find where I was up to. And get this down my throat a bit. While she goes away and no one sees her for long enough, and while she comes back, and they do say, said David, lowering his voice, that if there's a death in the family or any evil hanging over the Vaughans, that she be there shrieking and wringing her hands to give warning of what be to come. The children were beginning to feel quite delightfully creepy, and would have liked a further continuation of the spirit portion of the story, but David's decoction was now ready. His thoughts were with his invalid in the cowhouse, and nothing could bring them back to Dame Eleanor's wraith. So, in spite of all entreaties for more, he departed, bearing his steaming can with him and declaring that one good cow was worth all the ghosts and ghostesses in the kingdom. For you might do some good to she, but as to they was naught but hearsay after all, she being the cow and they being the ghosts. After this, Peggy and Bobby were determined to try and obtain a sight of their ancestress, and with much screwing up of their courage, stole out one evening and crept fearfully round the ruins, clutching each other's hands very tightly. Well done on the pumpkin, well done. I'm just going to try and, there it is, pumpkin arrangement. There you go, very good. And if you don't mind, actually no, I can do you one more. I'll do one more and then we shall, oh, that's cute. Just got someone asking me a question. Nearly finished. Okay, that's the end of the jigsaw for today. Just going to finish this. After this, Peggy and Bobby were determined to try and obtain a sight of their ancestress, and with much screwing up of their courage, stole out one evening and crept fearfully round the ruins, clutching each other's hands very tightly and jumping at every sound. There was a fitful moon, and it was just light enough to see the outlines of the old walls and the pieces of broken stair and the column, and with very dark places in between where the shadows fell. It was an ideal spot for a ghost. It really seemed as if these old relics of bygone days must be haunted. So strong were the cords which bound them to the past. A cloud had come over the moon, and as they groped their way round the corner of what had been the refectory, Peggy caught Bobby's arm. "Listen," she said in a thrilling whisper. The children clung together tighter than ever and held their breath. Sorry, I'm leaning into the microphone so I don't have to talk so loud. And held their breath, for there certainly was the most extraordinary noise to be heard, a kind of mixture between groaning and sighing, with a rattling sound as of dragging chains. It seemed coming in their direction too, and they shrank into a niche in the wall, with their hair almost standing on end. Something gleamed white in the faint moonlight, and a terrific sound suddenly boomed in their ears. My goodness, frightened almost out of their wits, the children shrieked and ran, but stopped before they'd gone 20 yards. For the noise had developed into a very decided hee-haw. And the moon, bursting through the clouds, revealed the long nose and twirling ears of the tinker's broken-winded old donkey, who dragged a clog on his leg and was giving vent to his feelings in his own peculiar fashion, his master having turned him into the ruins for a stolen feed during the night, no doubt with the intention of fetching him in the morning before anyone was up and about. Dragging the clog, I think, is like putting fetters on him so it would slow him down. But I guess it's a particular term that was used at the time. It was such bathos after their overwrought state of their feelings that they sat down and laughed till the tears ran down their cheeks, treasuring the joke to tell to Archie when he should be well enough to receive visitors, and holding it up as a model to relieve Nancy's fears. But seeing how easy it was to imagine a ghost out of really everyday materials, the children plotted mischief next Saturday and determined to give Joe a fright. About half a mile from the house lay the oak wood, which was also the supposed scene of Dame Eleanor's walk. Through this wood ran a road which was the shortest way to Middlehead, a little market town in the opposite direction to Warford. Knowing that Joe had gone for a holiday with some other lads from the village to a fair which was being held that day at Middlehead, they decided to construct a ghost and fix it up in the wood to alarm him and his companions as they returned. They kept their secret to themselves and retired to the barn to fashion a figure of Dame Eleanor, according to their own notions of what a phantom should be. Taking a large turnip, they scooped out the inside till there was nothing left but a hollow shell. Turnips used to be what was used in Great Britain before pumpkins were used. Obviously, they were large turnips. So making a jack-o'-lantern, but with a turnip. Hollowed it out till there was nothing left but a hollow shell, cutting holes in it for eyes, nose and mouth, and fixing a candle inside. Oh, they're being mean. So that when the light shone through, it would resemble a horrible, grinning face. At dusk, they stole away with the rest of their materials to the oak wood and set to work. The spot chosen was a grassy corner where a gate across the road formed an angle with the wall which bounded the wood upon one side. It was a specially dark and shady place, for the tall trees shut out the sky, and even in the daytime it was gloomy and still. They first planted a stout broomstick in the ground and fixed the turnip head firmly upon the top of it. 2 branches of trees, tied on like crossbars, made a pair of shoulders and arms, and when covered with a sheet stolen from the linen cupboard, it appeared as if the white figure was stretching out its imploring hands in a vain appeal for mercy. When Peggy lighted the candle inside, the effect was so terrific that the conspirators felt quite eerie themselves, and with a last look to see that all was steady and the candle not likely to fall over, they left Dame Eleanor in her corner and fled home over the fields with a rather guilty feeling, wondering what would happen. To do Peggy justice, I do not think she would have tried to play such a trick on poor Joe if she had imagined he were returning alone. But knowing he would have the company of several of his friends to support him, she thought he might rather enjoy the joke than otherwise. The dusk soon fell, and Peggy sat by the fire in the rose parlour reading Ivanhoe in much warmth and content. Lillian was playing snatches of her favourite Chopin, but somehow the music did not go well tonight, for the musician's heart was not in her fingers. "What's the matter, Lillian?" asked Peggy, tearing herself away from Friar Tuck and the Black Knight, to realise that her sister had got up for the 5th time from the piano to peep out through the window into the black beyond. "I wish father would come home, that's all. I always feel so uneasy when he goes to Middlewood," pacing relentlessly around the room and looking again at the clock. "Why? Because he drives home through the oak wood, and it's really so dangerous. There's no fence on the side next to the river, and Prince is so frisky," that's the horse, I think, "is so frisky if he were to shy there by the wall, nothing could save them from going straight down the bank. I've often begged father to have it railed in, but he only laughs at me. Why, Peggy, where are you going?" For without a word of explanation, Peggy had flung down her book and fled from the room. Hatless and in her thin house shoes, she rushed out of the house and tore over the fields as fast as her shaking legs could carry her. In her plan to give Joe a fright, she had never thought of father, who returned by the same road, and now the horrible white object was stationed just in the very danger spot where a plunging horse might mean a matter of almost certain death, for the wall of 5-acre field abutted the road on one side, and on the other there was only a narrow patch of grass between the steep bank which shelved down sheer into the river, while the closed gate stopped any chance of a dash forward. Peggy's heart was beating like a sledgehammer as she flew through the wood. Already she heard a distant rumbling of wheels, and putting on a last desperate spurt, she reached the gate. She could never afterwards tell exactly what happened at that moment, except that the gig lamps flashed suddenly in her eyes. "Whoa, my lad!" shouted Father's voice, and Prince's rearing, kicking form loomed large before her as he backed persistently towards the bank. It took Peggy just one instant to open the gate and, catching up her ghost, to hurl the whole wretched thing over the wall, and in another she had seized the horse by the rein and, soothing him with her well-known voice, dragged him forward with all the strength of her wiry little arms. She was barely in time, for already one wheel was over the edge, but the object of his fear being removed, Prince allowed himself to be cajoled into the road again, where he stood, panting and trembling in every limb. "Why, my little Peggy!" cried Father, leaning down to see where the lamplight flashed on the face of his rescuer. But the strain was too much for Peggy, and she plumped down on the dead leaves by the roadside in such a tempest of tears that Father had to climb out of the gig and pick her up to comfort her. But as he could not get a word of sense, he popped her in the vacant place by his side and drove on, while she clung to his arm, still shaking with sobs, till they reached the Abbey, where he helped her down, such a miserable little tear-stained picture of woe, gulping out the confession of her escapade, that he had not the heart to scold her, though he had a word of warning to say afterwards upon the danger of such heedless practical jokes. "Hi, Collie, good to see you." Dame Eleanor's remains were fished out of the corner of the 5-acre field on Monday morning by Joe himself, who kicked her turnip head as ruthlessly as the Orchists had used her husband's at Mortimer's Cross, and brought back the broomstick to the stable and the sheet to Nancy's wash-tub. In all the valour of daylight, he assured the children that it wouldn't have scared he, not it. He'd made a many of they turnip lanterns in his time, and knowed him too well to be took in so easy. But his faith in the genuine phantom remained unshaken all the same, and I do not think he would have ventured alone into the ruins after dark for the amount of his weekly wages, and money meant a good deal to poor, hard-working Joe. And that's the end of that chapter, and I am finishing right here because I am going to go and finish prepping my dinner because somebody has to go out, so we can't have dinner late. Thank you for being here. Thank you for your fun and your comments and doing the puzzles and all those wonderful things, and I look forward to seeing you next time. And in the meantime, happy reading. Bye.